a major court development in the Clinton email saga, maybe the most important development yet. Judge Royce Lamberth, a U.S. District Court judge here in the District of Columbia, essentially authorized Judicial Watch to conduct significant discovery into the Clinton email issue. Judicial Watch's lawsuit about the Benghazi talking points, in which we asked for Clinton emails, was the reason we found the Clinton email scandal. It was in response to that FOIA lawsuit that the Justice Department and the State Department were finally forced to admit that they had all these emails that they hadn't told us about or the court about. And Judge Lamberth is obviously upset about that. In his ruling, he says that he called the Clinton email scheme let's see, let me give you the details here. One of the most, this is just incredible language. I have the ruling here. I want to quote him exactly, that's why I'm looking. The gravest modern offenses to government transparency. And he authorized Judicial Watch to conduct discovery, and he wants a plan within 10 days about how we're going to do it. And specifically, he wants us to look at discovery into whether or not Mrs. Clinton's use of a private email system was designed to evade the Freedom of Information Act, and whether the Justice Department or the State Department conducted an adequate search for documents, and whether or not FOIA was, let me be specific here as well, because I don't want to misstate the judge. Oh, and whether the State Department's attempts to settle the case with Judicial Watch before they told us about the Clinton emails was done in bad faith. So specifically, the court found that, I'll read directly here for you, excuse me, with all the papers here. The parties to meet and confer to plan discovery into whether Hillary Clinton's use of a private email while Secretary of State was an intentional attempt to evade FOIA, whether the State Department's attempt to settle this case in early 2014 and early 2015 amounted to bad faith, and whether State was has adequately searched for records responsive to Judicial Watch's requests. Now, Judge Lamberth is, as I told you previously, it's pretty clear he was shocked by the way the State Department conducted itself, shocked by this Justice Department. He previously expressed concern at a hearing earlier, or I should say last month. He was, quote, surprised that the Justice Department granted immunity to Cheryl Mills, who he had found had violated, basically lied about another email issue in another Judicial Watch case. So he sees that the Justice Department's granting this person immunity, and he expressed a strong dissatisfaction with it. So in many ways, this new ruling is not surprising. The judge said in the ruling, and I encourage you to read it online, we'll provide a link to it, he cites Barack Obama's transparency directive under the Freedom of Information Act, highlighting that all agencies should adopt a presumption in favor of disclosures to renew their commitment to the principles embedded in FOIA and to usher in a new era of open government. And as I said earlier, the judge said that they didn't meet that. In this case, faced with one of the gravest modern offenses to government transparency, his State and Justice Department, Obama's, fell far short. So far short that the court questions even now whether they are acting in good faith. Did Hillary Clinton use her private email as Secretary of State to thwart this lofty goal? Was the State Department's attempt to settle the FOIA case in 2014 an effort to avoid searching and disclosing the existence of Clinton's missing emails? And has State ever adequately searched for records in this case? And what is this case? This case is about Benghazi, one of the worst scandals of the Obama administration, where they lied to the American people about the nature of the attack. They suggested it was a result of a spontaneous demonstration that somehow morphed into an attack on the consulate or the special mission compound there, when in fact they knew immediately it was a terrorist attack, and they didn't want that coming out just before the election because it would have undermined President Obama's claims that ISIS was on the run, that Obama, excuse me, not ISIS at the time, ISIS was on the rise at the time, but that Al-Qaeda was on the run. Instead, they concocted this sham video story And this is why we were in court. We're asking for Hillary Clinton's emails about that sham video story. And the judge took note of that. In fact, later in the ruling, he highlights the fact that Benghazi was a big deal here, and he wonders whether there was a cover-up of her emails to protect them on Benghazi. Let me read you there. Citing an email uncovered as a result of Judicial Watch's litigation, that Hillary Clinton acknowledged that Benghazi was a terrorist attack immediately after it happened. Remember, Hillary Clinton sent that email to her daughter the night of the Benghazi attack, saying it was a terrorist attack? Judge Lamberth asked, did state know Clinton deemed the Benghazi terrorism hours after it happened, contradicting the Obama administration's subsequent claim of a protest gone awry? Did the department merely fear what might be found, or was state's bungling just the unfortunate result of bureaucratic red tape and a failure to communicate? To preserve the department's integrity and to reassure the American people their government remains committed to transparency and the rule of law, this suspicion cannot be allowed to fester. The judge excoriates the Justice Department and the State Department for their misconduct here. At best, states' attempts to pass off its deficient search and its legally adequate states' attempt to pass off its deficient search as legally adequate during settlement negotiations was negligence born out of incompetence. At best, it was negligence born out of incompetence. At worst, career employees in the state and Justice Departments colluded to scuttle public scrutiny of Clinton, skirt FOIA, and hoodwink this court. Turning his attention to the Department of Justice, Lamberth writes, the current Justice Department made things worse. This current Justice Department. When the government last appeared before the court, and as I said, this is just about a month or so ago, counsel claimed, it is not true to say we misled either Judicial Watch or the court. When accused of doublespeak, counsel denied vehemently feigned offense and averred complete candor. When asked why state masked the inadequacy of its initial search, counsel claimed that the officials who initially responded to Judicial Watch's request didn't realize Clinton's emails were missing and that it took them 2 months to figure out what was going on. Counsel's response strained credulity. The court then grants our discovery request, citing outrageous government conduct by the government. In fact, the judge says that this Justice Department seems to have engaged in chicanery in dealing with the court. And so this is why Judicial Watch in this historic court ruling has received the permission of the court. And we have to come up with a plan with the Justice Department and State Department to get some discovery. Now, kudos to the court here. Kudos to Judge Lamberth, because he speaks, I think it's fair to say, for millions of Americans who've been concerned about the lack of accountability and the lack of full investigations into the Clinton email scandal, one which has ramifications on national security, ramifications on domestic policy, and ramifications about the basic issue of transparency in government. Because this is one way to avoid the Freedom of Information Act, which is to create emails on a completely separate system and then run away with them when you leave office. And as I said, the only reason we know about this is because of Judicial Watch. And it's in this case that Judge Lamberth wants full accounting as to what went on.